All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about the building blocks of life. But I want you to think about them like the ultimate Lego set. And today, we're going to focus on one of the most important bricks in that set, carbohydrates.
But first, let me ask you a question. What are you really made of? Yeah, sure, bone and muscle and skin, but what are they made of? What happens if you could zoom in, like way in, past the cells? What would you actually find?
You'd find this incredibly complex, beautiful world of giant molecules. We call them macromolecules. And these are the things that literally build you. You know, every living thing, from the tiniest bacterium to a massive blue whale, is built from just 4 main types of these molecules. And here they are, the whole parts list for life: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Today, we're zeroing in on that first one, carbohydrates. But the really cool thing is, the basic idea we're about to learn applies to pretty much all of them. And that idea, well, I call it the universal Lego principle. It's this beautiful, simple secret to how life can build so much amazing stuff from a pretty limited set of pieces. It all comes down to 2 key terms. A monomer. That's just the sciencey word for a single, individual Lego brick, the basic unit. Now, when you link a whole bunch of those monomers together, you get a polymer. That's your finished Lego creation, your spaceship, your castle, whatever. Simple, right? Life just snaps together little pieces to build big things.
And this slide here shows you how that snap actually works on a chemical level. To connect 2 monomers, the cell removes a water molecule. That's called a dehydration reaction. Makes sense. Then to break them apart, you just do the reverse. You add a water molecule back in to break the bond. That's called hydrolysis. So building up, breaking down, it's all about playing with water.
Okay, so now that we've got that universal Lego principle down, let's put it into practice. Let's build our first class of macromolecules and meet the carbohydrates. So what are carbohydrates? Well, at their core, they're just sugars and the big long chains you can build out of them. And they have 2 main jobs in pretty much any organism. They're either fuel to be burned for energy, or they're used as building materials, fuel or structure. And this molecule right here, this is our star player, our #1 Lego brick for today. This is glucose. It's the most common simple sugar, or monosaccharide, and it's the fundamental piece we're going to be working with. This is the stuff your body literally runs on.
So, what happens when you snap just 2 of these sugar bricks together? Well, using that same dehydration reaction, you can link them up. And the bond that forms between 2 sugars has a special name, a glycosidic linkage. For example, if you link a glucose to another simple sugar, fructose, you get sucrose. You probably know it better as plain old table sugar.
But linking 2 sugars? That's just the beginning. The real magic happens when you start linking hundreds or even thousands of them together. That's when you build these giant superstructures called polysaccharides.
And remember, those 2 main jobs, fuel and building material, well, that's exactly what these huge sugar polymers do. They're either for storing energy for later or for providing strong structural support. Let's look at energy storage first. There are 2 big ones to know. Plants take all their extra glucose and link it up to form a polysaccharide called starch. Animals, and that includes us, do pretty much the same thing, but we make a slightly different molecule called glycogen. This slide shows it perfectly. On the left, you're looking at starch granules packed inside a potato cell. It's basically the plant's pantry, full of stored energy. And on the right, those are glycogen granules stored in our muscle cells, ready to go when we need a quick burst of energy.
So what about that other job, the structural one? Well, plants also use glucose to build something called cellulose. But instead of a pantry, cellulose is more like the 2x4s in the walls of a house. It forms these incredibly strong, cable-like fibers that make up plant cell walls. It's what makes wood strong and what gives celery that satisfying crunch. Okay, and here is where it gets really cool. Get this, starch, the food, and cellulose, the 2x4, are both made from the exact same Lego brick. They are both just long chains of glucose. The only difference is how those bricks are snapped together.
So how is that possible? Well, it turns out our little glucose Lego brick comes in 2 slightly different flavors, an alpha form and a beta form. The only difference is the position of one little group of atoms. When you build with alpha glucose, you get starch, and the whole chain naturally coils up into a helix. But when you build with beta glucose, you get cellulose, and the chain stays perfectly straight and rigid. Just look at this diagram. See that? With starch on top, all the little connector bonds are pointing the same way, but with cellulose on the bottom, every other glucose brick is flipped upside down. It's such a tiny change in the geometry of one bond, but wow, does it have massive consequences.
Because that helical shape of starch is easy for our body's enzymes to latch onto and break apart for energy. It's food. But that super straight, rigid shape of cellulose, our enzymes just can't get a grip. They don't fit the shape of that bond, so to us it's just indigestible fiber. The same brick, linked just a little differently, turns food into building material.
And that brings us to the real punchline of this whole story. It might be one of the most important rules in all of biology, really. And that is, shape is everything.
This is the absolute golden rule at the molecular level. A molecule's structure, its shape, determines what it does, its function. If you change the shape, even just a little bit, you completely change its job.
So let's just trace that incredible story one last time. We start with the exact same Lego brick, glucose. We snap it together with a slightly different twist, an alpha link versus a beta link. That tiny twist creates a totally different shape, a coil versus a straight rod. And that different shape leads to a completely different function, energy we can eat versus fiber we can't, food versus wood.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If just flipping a single chemical bond can create the difference between a potato and a tree, what other amazing secrets are hiding in the shapes of all the other molecules that build life?